if I'm being self-deprecating, you have to laugh really quickly.
Hello and welcome to the 5th episode of Ashley Haden's Political Breakdown. The 5th one is where it's all going wrong. My Pete, the IT man who does everything, is currently in Ireland. The guest that I had booked, well, one of the guests that I had booked, cancelled yesterday. So this time I've only got one guest. If you know about the show is me going through with guests, normally plural, about the week's news, some of the stuff that we've missed. So my single guest today is...
I'm Bob Walsh.
Fantastic, right. Where do you want to start? What's your news do you want to start with?
Well, it's really difficult not to start with the Extinction Rebellion trouble caused in town this week. You know, the terrible, nasty people ruining, like slowing people down on their days out and making people late for work to try and save the planet. The nasty people.
How are you feeling about them?
I'm just really glad someone's doing it. I've been up to a couple of the marches. I got spotted by a policeman who knew me from many other demos. These are professional demo police. These are the demo police that I've seen in Edinburgh and who've recognised me in Sheffield, Manchester. And they recognised me quite quickly, so I disappeared because I didn't want to bring down the argument that they've got sort of known demonstrators and revolutionaries back in the cause. I was just there to view, and I thought they were brilliant. I loved it. They had a smile on their face. The people I saw were dancing around. They were just being a real nuisance and trying to get their point across. I thought they were fantastic.
I like a lot what they're doing. I have slight issues because my main issue is you see them all and they're all dancing around and everything. That pisses me off. The issue comes that I can't think of a better way at the moment for doing it, though. That's where it comes. Like everyone's going, oh, these protests they're stopping people. Why aren't they doing it on the weekend? Because they're there to fucking, for everyone to notice it. Yeah. They're not there for it to all be quiet and doing it when it's all comfortable for everyone. If they were going to do that, they'll go to a fucking field, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Doing it where they are for that particular reason. Now, I don't like... how it's all being done only because of that reason. I don't think it actually is going to do anything. It's the same as the people who are dancing to jungle music outside Parliament for one of the protesting. They're going, well, you're not doing it. I mean, this is a day out for you. I don't actually think you give a shit. But that is completely and utterly besides the point of it. We're all talking about it.
Yeah, we are.
Who went over? Emma Thompson. Emma Thompson went over, and everyone went, she flew over. She flew. Like, what's she meant to do? Fucking swim?
Yeah.
Exactly. She lives over there. She realises what they're doing is a good thing. I was speaking to my dad. Yesterday about this, and he said that one of the things that he had a problem with was all the cars that they're stopping, they're not turning off their engines, you know? So they're not stopping the amount of carbon coming out of cars or carbon dioxide coming out of cars. And although I agree with that, it's doing it now so that it stops in the future.
Yeah, well, I think it's a stupid argument to talk about the sit-in traffic, frankly. It's about causing mayhem, and if it's a very short term, very tiny 0.001% extra pollution in London, I have to breathe this stuff, then I think it's worth it for a couple of days just to get the point, get people talking about it. We've even had government ministers talking about it. This has worked, and I'm really delighted they're doing it. I'm going to be honest, I felt a bit weird being in a peaceful demonstration. I'm not really known as a peaceful demonstrator, and I thought it was wonderful. I really did. Maybe I'm turning into an old hippie as I approach 60, but I thought it was a really wonderful way to get the point across, and I'm completely behind them all the way. Even though I think there's got to be better ways. But like you, I can't actually think of them.
I mean, this is the problem, especially because of the comedy I work in. I try to come up with better ways for protesting because I despise a march. I do not like people, and there's a lot of them there. and they're all very close. And it's for the majority of time, it's never about the actual thing you're protesting about. You've got everyone. I mean, this fucking socialist workers turn up to everything. They're always there for some reason. You've got people there trying to protect the badges for some fucking reason, and all of this. Now, it's the difference of coming up with a different way of doing it. The fact that it was peaceful, that was the best thing about it.
Yeah, without question, the great peace movements of the world are looking over their shoulders saying, well done, guys.
Yeah,
well
good.
done.
I mean, you see the people who are getting arrested, and they go, oh, the police have to do more. The police arrested hundreds of people.
Yeah.
For what?
Yeah.
For absolutely what? Like, there's part of me that understands why they went to Heathrow and went, nah, mate, you you ain't getting here, my friends. I get that, because mainly for the protection of the fucking protesters. Because if you want to see something turn violent, you stop people going on holiday. That's how you fucking do it. You go, well, unfortunately, this flight can't go ahead. Why? Because some child wants to save the planet. Well, I'm going to kill that child.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to put the rest of my clothes that I brought in duty free up their ass and use them as a carry-on.
Yeah, well, I my own rant about it was, oh dear, if we got in the way of people going to work and paying the wages of slavery and buying stuff that was made by slaves in the Far East, then I'm glad about that as well.
I mean, that's a oversimplification to such a way.
That's why I'm a socialist.
Well, I'm pleased you said that and not me, because I'm well known to not be a massive fan of socialism or capitalism or anything really. But that's, I mean, but this is the thing. You're not stopping anyone from getting wages.
No.
You're not.
No.
If people can't get in because of that protest, especially in the city, no one's going, we're not paying you for that day.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I doubt. And if there were anyone who did that, that would be in the papers, and see how quickly that would turn around. If fucking John Lewis said, oh, well, these people who couldn't get in because of the protest, we're not paying them, that got into the papers, they'll be paying them fucking sharpish, mate.
Yeah, they certainly would. And also, I think if you ask the poorest people in London who might be affected by this, the people trying, in my industry, in the retail industry, people working on minimum wage, if they minded being just put out for a little while to get this up in the air, I think most of them would actually say, yeah, go for it, mate.
It's the most important thing in the world.
There is nothing else. In fact, all politics is irrelevant unless we address this one question.
Oh, that's it. Because it doesn't matter how much money you've got. It doesn't matter how many rights you've got. It doesn't matter about absolutely anything. It doesn't matter if you're in a country with a dictatorship. It doesn't matter if you're stoning gay people.
Yeah.
If you do not have a planet anymore,
No.
or it's not even that. It's the extinction of humanity. Because the planet will survive. The planet will survive after us. I mean, I saw a very valid point the other day who said the universe doesn't give a fuck if the Earth can habit life. We are the only ones who care about that.
Yeah, and we're doing an Easter Island, aren't we? It's the classic Easter Island. We're just eating everything up. There'll be nothing left and everyone will starve.
Is that what happened in Easter Island?
Yeah, pretty much. They just
I
got
didn't
greedier
know.
and greedier, kept chopping down the trees to make the big statue, to transport the big statues. They kept chopping down the trees, and then there wasn't, but as the population rose, there was a balance, and
Keep the
went
mic
over
close
the
to-
balance.
yeah. Talking, you've done comedy. Talk into the mic.
Yes, I know. No, I shout into the mic. Haven't you seen me?
I didn't realise that's what happened to Easter Island.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh,
Yeah.
you learn something new every day. It's very nice. Where are we looking in the future going forward with the... Because I've seen people who dislike these protesters because they're not working alongside a lot of other people like Amnesty International, Greenpeace and all of these. They're doing it on their own.
We need more people doing it. Everyone should be doing it. Every industry should be doing it. I mean, just really, we should be doing it. I mean, we've got to be fighting, and if there's, I don't think we should be waiting for the people who are already in place to do something about it, because it isn't happening quick enough.
Well, that's it. I mean, all of these people like Amnesty International and everything, and I've got issues with charities as a whole. Charity's a good thing. Charity is one of the things in this world that really shouldn't be needed. but it is.
The socialist viewpoint. Government should be doing the things that most charities.
Well, yeah, I mean that's. Be it socialist, be it not. We're not going to have everything turn into a. That's how I think you'll find a socialist setup. Fuck the socialists. But with these Amnesty International and everything else, there isn't a charity that hasn't in itself found problems. Amnesty International have had a lot of bullying claims against them from the inside. WWF have employed people to protect animals who kill and torture people. You had who was it Oxfam? Was it Oxfam? Moment Oxfam who went over to Haiti and paid the victims.
Child rapists.
Paid a lot of people for sex. You know, this is the problem when you hold anyone, including the likes of charities, when you hold them up so high, they fall so deep, because that's what happens when you've got humanity there. Humanity isn't perfect, and when you're allowing humanity to be the moral arbiter, sometimes they get it wrong.
Most of the time, they get it wrong.
So
that again is probably one of the good arguments against my sort of lovely big socialist ideal. Is it's like too many people, you get bad eggs get to the top, and then it becomes a nasty thing that's self-perpetuating rather than a kind and equal thing that's self-perpetuating.
Oh, almost certainly. Almost certainly.
It's happened in every major socialist attempt so far. Most.
I mean, I think with all ideas, especially when you come into the likes of socialism and capitalism, they're both such old ideas that I'm a firm believer of get over it. You know, it's another, but that is another thing with the peaceful protest and all of this. I am yet to come up with another way, and we have to at this point. I mean, socialism. I mean, even democracy and all of this stuff. They're such old ideas that have not worked. No. That there has to be another way forward. I just can't come up with something yet. I'm hoping to, and then I'm hoping to turn it into comedy and then become a god. That's the plan.
Yeah, I can't say I have any real sort of overall answers, because I'm a disillusioned socialist, but who's been buoyed greatly by Jeremy Corbyn coming forward and actually putting forward in my opinion, a proper socialist agenda in the country. I feel I'd almost given up on the Labour Party, but I'm going to give it one last go. I mean, I gave up during Blair. I went back. I've gone back because of Corbyn, and now I just have to give it one more go. That is my ideal society. Anyone that knows me will tell you that is what I've wanted all my life, and I am going to give this everything I've got behind Jeremy Corbyn. And
I would argue
ideas.
That you'll not find another government since maybe the end of the Second World War that put in as many socialist policies as the Labour Party under Blair.
Well, it wasn't the worst time. I mean, Blair was only really a nasty, really horrible person when it came to international politics. I actually fell on my arse as a street homeless alcoholic during that Blair period, and I'm sure glad that I fell on my arse then and not now, because there were 10 times the facilities for homeless people, simply because the money was going through the councils.
I mean, that's the thing,
and the tax relief was going, and also the help for the charities that were helping that people. And I promise you, there was 10 times the facilities available to me in the early 2000s than there is now.
You can make the argument that although Blair was the head, he wasn't the one who brought all of these in. You can certainly make that argument. The people surrounding him were the ones who brought in all of these ideas, the likes of the Robin Cook, who was a lovely fella. I say that like I knew him. But even people like Brown, all of these people who brought in a collective together, brought in nice ideas. You see them as they grow up. I think Brown's aged very well. I think Blunkett's aged incredibly badly.
Yeah. But
I think
they
Blair
did well,
needs to.
apart from handing all the money to the very rich and playing the corporate game and the
Yes.
international "let's kill anyone who's got oil" campaign.
Oh, certainly. But
Apart from that, they did really well.
Well, this is the thing. We live in a world where, especially a country where we only look at one thing, and I fundamentally agree with you with the wars. They were illegal. I've read the Chilcot Report.
They are.
They were illegal.
I've read what you said about the Chilcot Report.
But
this is how I get politics, folks.
but it's right in the idea that a lot of it was fundamentally flawed. It was illegal. You've also got what was happening at the time in those places were not good. The issue is, if you want to become the world police, you have to be better. And it's one of my problems with Corbyn. It's one of my problems with Corbyn and this whole thing of going along, is if you want to be seen as the moral arbiters, you have to put in the effort and actually be better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is the left, and I'm left wing, but the left are so lazy, they don't want to do it. The moment that someone comes out and points out that something that they're doing is not morally right, they either ignore it, put it under the fucking carpet, or they go after someone. And that's not how you do it.
I watch it every day on social media where they're really going after people. I'm a bit bored of it as well, to be honest, and I'm just about trying to get some equality, and I'm not after victims. I'm not after like hanging people. I just really want to, as like all socialists, want to look after the bottom 10, 25%.
Well, I've got a great story from this week that you'll absolutely despise if you like equality. It was a piece in the Guardian. Guardian had seen some data that half of England is owned by less than 1% of the population, according to figures seen by the Guardian. It suggests about 25,000 landowners, mostly the
aristocracy.
Yeah, the aristocracy and members of the corporations.
Yeah.
So they own half the country. You've got major owners of land include Dyson, the one who wants Brexit but not to be in the country or not having his business in the country.
Yeah, and move his office out, yeah.
Yep. The Queen, who we all know is a lizard. She's not. She's just not. It's what a fucking stupid thing people say about that. And the Duke of a surname I can't pronounce, but is the road that my Edinburgh show is always on.
Oh, right.
It's
okay.
Buckleith or something.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough.
So it's saying that still we have owners of 17% of the England and Wales land remains undeclared, and that is probably owing to the fact that these gentry have owned it for so long that they've never sold it and so never had to declare it.
Never had to declare it, no.
And so we've got 30% of the land in this country is owned by the aristocracy and the gentry.
Well, what's happened in the world is there's over 40 years now, there's been a slow bleeding of money towards the top 1%, with however you want to call them, the corporations, the oligarchs, the corporate coup d'etat that's happened in the world
Bastards.
over that 40
That's
years.
what I'll call them.
And that's happened in the world, and that's been happening, and it's fucking perfect for the setup in this country because they already had it.
Yes.
And this country is like, we didn't need slaves back in the 1800s. We had our own slaves, but literally it's got worse from that point. And they've got it in their pocket. They've really got a whole nation of people in debt. They're already in debt, and they're working out ways of giving them bigger debts, and that's exactly how they want it. And more and more money drips towards them, and it's an actually irreversible cycle as it stands at the moment. And the only way to do anything about it is to smash it.
How would you go about smashing? In what sense smash it?
Well, I wonder. There's as a revolution.
My first thought would be inheritance tax. That'd be my first look.
Yeah, I'm really sick of being. I don't mind people getting stupidly rich. That's the one way I've changed from my days as a revolutionary socialist. Is I'm actually delighted if someone can go and be really rich and do really, really well. But if they're doing it on the back of people paying people less than a living wage, if they're doing it on the back of sort of ripping off whole generations of society, then I don't want it. And what's happening is the fat, ugly children of the rich are now making the decisions, and they've just been like they've never been poor. They've never had to look at life from another side, and they're never going to, and they're just going to be even worse, and that just keeps happening. I mean, the children of the very brilliant people are not always brilliant people. It does happen, but I can't think of any examples.
Are you having a point now where, and I think we've mentioned this in previous episodes, where politics, which should be the thing to help change all of this, they're not getting the right people in.
Certainly not. Absolutely not. Career politicians. I read I think that the one people that should be barred from being politicians are people that want to be politicians.
Oh, certainly. I think it should be dragged and kicking, screaming.
I think we should
politics.
Just get the best people in business, get the best people in education, get those people to make some decisions.
It seems like a really simple thing, but like if you're going to be the health secretary, have to have some experience in health.
Yeah, I'd quite like a doctor.
A nurse.
Yeah.
As long as you're not someone who's...
They're not a surgeon. They're all psychopaths. I saw that on telly the other day. So.
Are they?
Yeah, apparently so.
Also not doctors. They're mister, aren't they? Because once you become a surgeon, and I
learned... I don't mind people doing well out of doing something that is useful to society.
Do you know what they're called,
letters
mister?
After your name and everything. It's great. Just be brilliant for us.
But do you know why they're called mister and not doctor?
No.
It's because surgeons were originally butchers. Like actual butchers. So doctors would bring them in because they knew how to cut well. And so they would be brought in. So they would be, if they became a surgeon, they were Mister. And now, once you become a doctor, if you go to a surgeon, if you become a surgeon, then you are Mister and not Doctor, because they were never called Doctor before.
I shall look at my local butcher, Mr. Farouk, in a different light from now on, I think. He should be a doctor.
Oh, that is literally not what I said. Don't start going into butchers when you've got an ailment and going, listen, I'll tell you, can you have a look at this?
That's the same as going in most chemists now. They're trying to get you to use chemists rather than your GP. And I went in and I asked for a particular... for a particular ailment, and they took me straight to the most expensive one. It was £15 something, and there was exactly the same product for £6. Actually, two along from it. So that's the same as offering our drug services to individual businessmen who are trying to sell the very expensive stuff in their shop. Well,
it's a very small version of the American.
It is
issue,
dichotomy,
and it is an issue. The American health service is
awful,
mental, absolutely mental.
I don't think you can use the word civilized.
I agree. Yeah, it's not. You can't have a civilized society if having a baby puts you in debt in not the way of just having the baby. Like growing up. If you have a child and you get into debt, could it cost like? When I was growing up, it said like $100,000 or something like that to bring a child from up to 18. Now it's probably, 200-300. Everyone needs a fucking iPad and all of this stuff. Clothes are more expensive and all of this stuff. But actually, just going to a hospital and having a baby, and that costs you like $80,000. Like, fuck off, mate.
I didn't even know that. I didn't. That's absurd.
It's stupid amounts.
Yeah,
but they all argue, they've got insurance, so that all pays. But you're paying that insurance. We pay taxes for this stuff. That's it.
I don't think you can claim to be civilised under that system, and I think that it's a human right to have health service, a decent health.
And I'm big on human rights. I still think that a lot of people don't understand human rights, and I say this. I think I say this every episode. Human rights is your right against a government. It is not your right against another person.
No, exactly, yeah. Human right, education, health and education.
Free expression.
Free expression, yes, I'm very into free speech, even the bad people.
Yes, but we have laws for certain reasons. Inciting hate, not being able to say fire in a thing for fear of everyone trampling and killing.
Yeah.
Things like that, they're needed.
Yeah, I'll give you
Absolutely needed.
Yeah.
Let's go on to another big story of the week, Notre Dame.
I think you already know what I'm going to say on that. I think it's a wonderful old building. I enjoyed my time there when I was there. I was actually hid near there when I was running away from French skinheads when I went over to see the Jam. But I really obviously admire it, and I'm really glad that it's being done. And I know it's owned by the state and not the Catholic Church, but the Catholic Church are fairly heavily involved, and I think they can afford it. And I
certainly.
would really love to see, I really would have loved to have seen loads of those people come out and give money to Grenfell maybe, or there are a million
this is
ways.
The thing. And
I'm
I had an idea,
out loud, and I mean it.
But I had an idea that you would go that direction. However, I don't necessarily think that setting fire to poor people until rich people care is the way forward. I mean, that's just me. And the argument of these French billionaires putting money to Notre Dame, I get that everyone wants the money to go to the more unfortunate society,
More valid causes.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with that. But until we get to a point where poor people are part of the national conscience, it's not going to happen. Like the government, this means that the rich doing all of that means that the government doesn't have to put that money in. So then the government money can go elsewhere.
What about the Catholic Church?
I mean, the Catholic Church should be
disbanded.
disbanded.
Might just be able to afford it. They could like.
Oh, certainly, 100%. They're
one.
They're one of the richest organisations in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had to give some money away for NDAs. For the poor children, but they could just melt one of the Pope's rings and fucking pay for it. This is the thing. And I do think that if only Jesus had said something about the poor, then maybe the Catholic Church would want to do more about it.
Yeah.
However, they don't. They've got a little stock where they've got tons and tons of money. They invest a lot of money in stock markets and everything else. They're some of the big investors. Them and Jehovah's Witnesses. Ironically, I don't know why we got onto this, but because I've done some work in a city. I've done some work in a city in my time. I've got some friends who work in a city, and at one point, the Jehovah's Witnesses were one of the biggest clients for certain banks, with the amount of money that they'd put into invest in the stock market, in currencies and stuff like this. And so, but this is all religions, isn't it?
Yeah, no, all religions.
All religions are fundamentally flawed because they go on about how much they care about the poor, but they're so unwilling to do anything about the poor. It's almost as though they don't actually care.
It is almost as though they don't actually care. I think the whole not just the Catholic Church. I mean, the American Christian right is just mad.
Oh,
it's
kooky bastard.
Mad, and really, I think they're against pretty much everything Jesus said. I mean, I'm not a Christian. I'm not into this stuff. But they are supposed to be Christians. That is like Jesus as in Jesus Christ. And I don't think there's a single thing he said that fits in with what they live by.
Well, none of them seem to go like his most famous one, from my understanding. And I've never met the guy. I don't think anyone has. But one of his most famous things was like, be kind to everyone. And they seem to miss that bit. It seems to be like gay people, fucking, let's kill them. Shellfish, let's eat that.
Yeah,
although it's against that.
Yeah,
let's eat them, yum, 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 yum. Let's wear clothes that we're not meant to wear, because you're not meant to wear mixed fabrics. and let's not be kind to our neighbour.
And rather than turn over the tables of the moneylenders, they worship the moneylenders instead. Because that's basically what's happening. The whole world, the whole Christian world are worshipping moneylenders.
I mean,
literally are.
Yeah, but what we saw on the Notre Dame, and I thought was, it didn't surprise me, which is a pity because it should have done, is how quickly, and this is the problem with the internet, how quickly it went from this is a tragedy, this is an awful thing to happen, to the Muslims did it. And all of this fake, I don't want to say fake news, this bullshit, this lies, this utter lying to you shit from fucking InfoWars, from Katie Hopkins, who, I had this about Aaron Banks, but I think this can be used for a lot of people. We can make a lot of money off of these people when they die. Because what we do is we make sure they're buried in a place with very good plumbing, and then we sell tickets for everyone who wants to piss on their fucking graves. And I think we should make money off of that, and all of the money that we make off of that should go to everyone who they've shouted their fucking hatred towards.
Yeah, that would do. I like that. I'm going with you. I'll work on that one.
That'll be. I mean, that's my idea for a business plan. You know, I'll take 10% of it. You know,
it would work. I really can't. You know, I can't believe that people are gullible enough to take it in. But they just eat away. They just keep hitting people with these facts. And then how many times on the doorstep when I've been canvassing for Labour, or when I'm just in the pub when I've been behind the bar talking to people just come back with the little sound bites from Katie fucking Hopkins.
Exactly.
And Jacob Rees fucking Moggs.
All of these people who lie for a living.
Yeah.
Actually lie for a living. And people listen to them.
Yeah, yeah.
It's they allow us to hate. And so they allow us to get to a point where people like Katie Hopkins go, well, you say what Katie Hopkins said, and you say, well, that's utter bollocks.
Yeah.
So, well, that's not my view. That's what Katie Hopkins said. No, that's you.
You've just said it.
Yeah, it's the same argument I've had before with comedians who love to go. Well, my gran. Oh, the racism that she said. You know, going, no, that's you, mate. That is absolutely you, 100% you. Mainly because your nan doesn't say things in a punchline form.
She's probably had 16 gins, and you're saying it on stage with a microphone.
Well, there's no tete-a-tete, and this is the thing. I mean, with all of those type of jokes, they're going, well, I mean, my nan said this, and I said, they go, no, you didn't, mate. No, you fucking didn't. You said, well, I've got a nice reply for this racist bit that I've thought of. Yeah. However, I can't say this racist bit because it's racist. Luckily, I had a nan.
I've got a mate, actually, that I was having a chat with a couple of weeks ago, and I grew up on the same estate, which was a very right-wing estate in southwest London, stroke North Surrey, called the St Helier estate, and I left there because it was so very, very right-wing. And I met up with him for a couple of pints, and I won't say his name because this is fucking horrible. And I said, let's get a couple of cans and go down the park, and which is something we've done since we were like 16 years old. And he said, yeah, I'll go over to Packy Shop. And and suddenly, like, that isn't okay. And, like, in my mind, that isn't okay. And that's why I moved away from the St Helier estate. And that was horrible. And he just couldn't believe that I just got annoyed about it at all. And I just think that people like him, who don't think too much about it, they read The Sun, they might on a Sunday get the Mail on Sunday or something just to go and sort of highbrow, and then they just spout this stuff back. And over the evening I heard a series of memes coming from the right-wing liars that he thought were facts. And I literally was going onto Google and disproving the fact to him in front of his face.
Well, I've had it. I mean, Facebook is great for that, because one of my sisters occasionally would share something from Britain First. And now we can say a piece of news this week goes into a piece of news from this week. It's the fact that Facebook have finally banned a lot of right-wing pages and groups from Facebook, EDL, Britain First, BNP, and all of these. Now, Britain First is an interesting one because at one point they had like 1 million people following them. Because how they'd bring you in, and this is why, like, my sister would they'd say, like this if you like the troops. All of this stuff, and it's. Who doesn't like the troops? I mean, individually they're fine. Collective, very dangerous.
I went to disrupt a Britain First march type thing. There were 50 of them, and it was it was laughable. They were singing "Onward, Christian Soldiers," and
oh Christ! I mean, a lot of them would be on parody.
Them. I went in the pub and had a few beers, mate. I was like. Oh.
But like my sister would share something from them, and it would be a light thing, nothing bad. It's just not a bad one. She just doesn't have as much time as I do to research the madness of the world, and so she shares all of this stuff, and I'm like you. I'm there going, no, this is wrong. Don't share this. This is from these people who do this, say this, a racist scum. Fucking, if they got in to any power, you would literally be attached to a kitchen. This is it, and I mean, with all of them, with everyone who's against feminism, everyone who's against all of this stuff, but the EDL, the BNP, and everything. If you're a woman. If you're anyone who isn't a straight white man and you support these people, you have to understand that they are not for you.
Yeah.
They're against you.
They're against you, yeah.
100%.
It's like poor people loving Jacob Rees-Mogg. Oh, he's so funny, little Lord Fauntleroy.
There's a brilliant piece of research that I'm yet to be able to make into a joke, and I want to, from the Warwick University. So an actual university, not something that used to be a swimming pool. And they did a study on how much money it would take to win on the lottery for you to change your vote. And they found that if someone won £500 on the lottery, they had an 18% higher chance of voting for Tories. It's a fascinating read. Truly is brilliant. I would suggest to everyone to go and read it. It's one of my favourite statistics of all time.
That makes me want to jump off a bridge, man. Why have I
I mean, it's lucky this flat is on the ground floor.
Oh my goodness.
It's truly fascinating to think that that's where we are.
Well, a lot of people I grew up with, again, on this council estate, they bought their house, their parents bought the houses, and now they own the houses, and so, you know, they've literally been getting 20-30 grand free a year on the increase on the value of the house for their whole life, and they've become Tories, and they grew up on the St Helier estate. This place was built for like really poor people who were bombed out in the Second World War.
Yeah.
And, you know, like over 2 generations, because Thatcher sold them the house, they are now Tories, and they sit there with their Tory fat children. And I'm sorry, there's going to be a lot of people hate me who watch this off the estate. But
there aren't a lot of people who fucking watch this, mate. I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah,
you're absolutely fine.
You never know with me being on it, though.
If you're the one who gets me views, I'll be very impressed.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised, actually. No one comes to my fucking shows. So.
What is interesting about, because you were talking, we were saying about how if you get these people in, including the likes of UKIP and everything else, they will eventually go for you. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting thing, because this week our appeals court has issued a damning judgment attacking the Home Office's process in using a terrorism-related paragraph of immigration law as legally flawed, and has ruled that it must be changed. So what the Home Office has been doing, it's been using a bit of terrorism law to try to deport people on pieces of tax. So if they're like self-employed and there's a discrepancy in their tax, which could be many a reason. I mean, I'm not sure if you've ever been self-employed and tried to do tax. Very difficult. And so hundreds of people our government have tried to get rid of because of a discrepancy in the tax, and they are using terrorism laws for this. And these are people who've been in this country for 10 plus years, have British children.
Yeah.
And they're going, oh no, you've made a mistake in your tax. We're deporting you on terrorist-related fucking laws.
How do they do that? How? Come on.
Well, this is the thing. This is why I do not like our government, but I do like our law, because our law stands up to our government. It's why when the likes of the Daily Mail and the Sun and all of these people go after our law, our judges hold up our law. They're going, well, they're the ones who tell the government, this is illegal. What you're doing here is illegal. You cannot continue doing this. They're the ones who fight against the fucking hostile environment and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Now, we have and this is fucking Sajid Javid, who, I mean, the problem is this is going to come across as really bad, but he should understand how awful it all is and try not to continue with a hostile environment. This is a man who, I assume, has dealt with some racism in his time, has dealt with the prejudice of being a minority in this fucking country, and has got to a position of power and has used that power to continue punishing people who, if he wasn't the fucking Home Secretary, would have a chance of him and his parents being fucking involved in it.
Yeah, that was as much as I've laughed in the last 6 months when I found out that his parents would be deported on his own laws. You have to laugh.
You have to. You have to.
Just have to laugh.
I made a joke about Sajid Javid that when he became Home Secretary, the first thing he had to do was try to deport himself.
His predecessor, Theresa May, she was an absolute...
his predecessor was Amber Rudd.
Oh, right, yeah.
Before that was Theresa May. But yeah, I mean, Theresa May creating this hostile environment, which is literally what she's known for now.
Yeah.
That and Brexit. She doesn't have a great history.
No.
Should we get rid of the Home Office?
I'm not sure what they do. I'm not sure what they do apart. I mean, I only see the negatives. I don't know what they do.
No one's seen the positives.
I've only seen the negatives. I don't know what they do. I don't know what they're there for. They just seem to be making... I mean, what they've done in the Windrush thing is beyond contempt. I don't... You know, I growing up in Southwest London, the West Indian community were massively important to my life. You know, like, and I can't believe that I know people I knew as a kid have actually not been allowed back in the country. People that I grew up with and I've grown up with their children have gone like home, as we would even Irish say, go home when you go back there. And they've come back and they're not allowed back in the country they've lived for 50 odd years. They've built, and their children are really successful, like high earning members of our society, and they're still not allowed back in. I'm it's beyond contempt. I couldn't hate anyone more.
I mean, I would go as long as say it's evil, because this is the thing: you've either got incompetence or actual evil. That's the two, and it comes to a point where it goes beyond incompetence. You can't continue to have the fact that you're incompetent as an excuse.
Yeah.
There has to be some fundamental reason why our government continue to break laws. In fact, with what they've done now, what our courts have done, the Court of Appeal have done, is they've actually said that you can no longer use this piece of law because it goes against the European Human Rights Act. If you are going to use it, you need to prove why you are using it, why you are getting rid of someone. So it's no longer the idea of we just get rid of you.
Yeah.
You have to give a reason, a valid reason as to why you are using this piece of law that, once again, is about terrorism, why you were using it. Because this is my problem with all of the terror laws and everything. And we've brought in tons of terror laws. Lots of them.
Well, every time a bomb goes off, we get a whole new load of them.
And the issue with all of these laws is, as we've shown here, they aren't just used for terrorists. And it's always about when will they use it on you. And that's one of my problems with the right, especially the far right. They go along and go, oh, we want this law, we want to fucking stop people from wearing this, we want to stop people from doing this, we want to stop people from doing this. Yeah, but once you allow that domino to fall, where does it stop? Where does it stop before they say you are no longer allowed to go to the pub and have 4 pints?
Yeah. Well, actually, what they said about the Second World, when they came for the Jews, I said nothing because I wasn't a Jew, and then when they came for the socialists, I said nothing.
It's one of the most important pieces of literature that there's been. However, that has also been taken over by the fucking right. It's all been taken. Everything's been taken over from the far right, not the right, the far right. Everything. First they came for. The far right. First they came for the Nazis, and I did nothing because I'm a Nazi and everything else. It doesn't really work when the far right do it. It's the idea. Just don't be a cunt, mate. It can't be that difficult. Next, a couple of pieces of news. So we're heading towards the end. UKIP have been ordered to fully reveal how it used nearly £300,000 of political data services in the run-up to Brexit vote and the 2015 general election. Now, this is a 2-year battle that they've lost to block it. Now, this is the continuation of the fact that the Brexit vote was illegal. People broke the law. Now, will we ever get a Mueller-like investigation into the Brexit vote?
I'm going to be honest. I honestly think that probably every single party probably breaks some law. I mean, there are laws and lawyers looking at the laws, thinking that they can work their way through them from every single party. I'm not sticking up for UKIP. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if Labour had done that through.
I mean, Labour have paid fines for breaking electoral law, but not using
I don't think
data.
That's the important thing here. I think what's important is why on earth didn't the people who wanted to stay in the union actually have used the facts available to them?
They did use I mean, it was terribly done. There's no doubt about that.
It was awful campaign.
Yes, it was a lot of fear, and there was literally no one going along going, you know what, freedom of movement, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. You may not use it. Your kids might. Yeah. Fantastic. Allow them. Why not keep freedoms instead of taking away freedoms for your kids?
Yeah, we want to do our own deals. Oh, well, actually, we can anyway. We can actually arrange these things around the European Union.
We can do.
Members, but no one. I never heard that. From the people who were.
Well, I mean, you could argue that's a lot to do with the media as well. Getting involved,
and also because I think Corbyn's actually genuinely
I've heard some of his speeches. I've heard some of his speeches,
and I think he was like, "I'm just going to keep quiet."
Yeah, but he has the same Eurosceptic views as a lot of people have the Eurosceptic views, where they don't fundamentally understand how the European Union works. And I mean, that was a problem with a referendum as a whole. You don't ask people to do a referendum on quantum physics because no one has a clue what fucking quantum physics is.
Yeah.
No one has a clue what the European Union is. Final bits of news as we're going along. Diane Abbott, this is today's news. Diane Abbott has had to apologise after being photoed drinking a mojito on a train.
Why has she had to apologise?
Because you cannot. It's illegal to drink on TFL. It was an overground TFL overground. and she's had to apologise for this. Fucking hell.
Oh no, I just feel so sorry for her. I mean, I know she's got problems, and I know she said some stuff, in interviews under pressure. I'm not sure that she, I don't accept that she's somewhere on a spectrum somewhere, and she gets very flustered under those situations, and she said and done some really stupid calculations and stuff. But I feel so sorry for her.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, what a pointless thing to fucking have to apologise over. How fucking dare this pissing world? Like, get over. The luxury is a lot of people turned around and said, "What are you apologising for? You've done nothing wrong. Well on yourself."
Well, it's still another thing that's in people's heads. That bloody Diane Abbott. That bloody Diane Abbott. She's a really decent human being. She's been brilliant for the people in her constituency, and I think she's a good MP who sometimes misspeaks.
Yeah, I think
quite ridiculous.
I think that when she finally retires, I think that when all the smoke goes, she'll be held up as someone to look up to for what she's done, for what she's achieved.
It'd be interesting to see if she gets in the House of Lords.
I reckon she probably would do. Right. Do you have anything to plug?
Yeah, I'm doing the Derby Comedy Festival with...
you can plug into the camera now.
Hello, I'm doing the Derby Comedy Festival, Wrong Comedy, coming up soon, in the next few weeks. And then Edinburgh, again, I'm doing my 8th consecutive full 23-show run at the Edinburgh Fringe with Wrong Comedy. It's a show where I get to be as offensive as I can, and I invite lots of other new and not-so-new comedians to come along and be as offensive as they can. Yeah, I probably should have the dates and everything in front of me, but I'm just not efficient like that, so I won't bother. Wrong Comedy.
Go check it out. It's something to do up in Edinburgh if you're there to see me. It's final pieces of news before we go. No fault evictions have been axed. So the government has announced proposals to stop tenants being evicted by landlords using Section 21 notices. So that's good. Facebook, Instagram, and others of the like may be forced to limit the amount of likes and other stuff bollocks that they do for under 18s in a new proposal to look after under 18 people. So that's something. Done the appeal thing. Pay growth has risen for the fastest rate in more than a decade. However, still below 08 figures. It's not great news. Everyone thinks it's great news. It's not. It's minus, 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 and then 1+. We're all wanking over it. Begum, who's the ISIS bride, has been granted legal aid to fight the decision to revoke her UK citizenship.
Absolutely right.
Yes, it is fundamentally right. Whistleblowers across the EU are to get protections under new EU law, which was passed on Tuesday. It's to shield them from retaliations and also creating safe channels. Good thing.
Unlucky for Assange. When's this coming out?
It's on Tuesday, and Assange is not a whistleblower. He's a rapist.
No.
The people who gave him the stuff, they were whistleblowers. It's also amazing with him how quickly he works with Russia. Never comes out with anything about Russia. Also with the... you don't get to say anything on this bit. Also, EU Parliament has approved new EU rules to protect workers in the gig economy, which is good. Lib Dems have scrapped their diversity plans for candidates because white men have complained. There's maybe more into that, but have a look. MasterCard, potentially almost every adult in the UK could receive a payment of £300 from MasterCard after a court ruling has paved the way for a £14 billion class action lawsuit.
Party,
so that could be fun.
Party.
Oh, imagine that fucking Friday.
Let's
Christ.
have a party. Let's all got to be spent down the pub that week that we get it.
All on your MasterCards as well, so they get more money. Porn will now be blocked from the 15th of July. If you want to continue using porn, your two choices is either to buy an age verification card from your newsagents.
Just use your imagination.
Or you can upload your ID online to a government database, which sounds fucking delightful. That's all of it. I want to thank my guests.
Charter.
Yeah. Very nice. I want to thank my guest, Bob Walsh. That's all from me. Thanks. Bye.